president and CEO of Mr. Olympia, as well as Muscle and Fitness. Dan Solomon, welcome to JC Unplugged. It's good to have you here, buddy.
Casey, I love talking to you because you're the real deal. I know you're in the gym every day. You live the lifestyle. Plus, you're out in Vegas, which, of course, is a real hotbed for all things fitness and transformation. So, very happy to be with you today.
Well, you and I met last year around this time when you came on Las Vegas Now, and we had 3 minutes to talk. That's not enough time for you and I to talk. We need more than 3 minutes. So I'm excited you're here for the long form to talk about Olympia and your background and your history. Let's dive into it. Let's start with Mr. Olympia. It's coming up here in October, 61st annual. What can we expect this year at Resorts World?
Yeah, well, the relationship with not just Resorts World, but the city of Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Strip, it's really well documented, and it's very seasoned. We've been in Las Vegas for well over 20 years, and we've had opportunities to enjoy relationships with everyone from Mandalay Bay to the Orleans to Planet Hollywood to the Venetian, and more recently Resorts World, as you mentioned. And we're back at Resorts World for the second year. It's turned out to be a real great partner for our event for the last couple of years. And for those who don't know, the Olympia, it's really evolved. It started out back in the mid 60s as a bodybuilding competition, the World Championships of Professional Bodybuilding. It's the event that made Arnold Schwarzenegger famous. He won our event 7 times. And of course, the list goes on, the list of iconic bodybuilders and fitness champions is impressive. But really what's happened over the last 15, 20 years is it has evolved into something far greater. A central hub, a central artery for the global fitness industry. It brings together all elements of fitness and wellness and all modalities of body transformation. And you got your soccer moms, and you got your endurance athletes, and you got your power lifters and your bodybuilders and your bikini athletes and everybody in between. And I use the word athlete because the way these individuals train is incredible. So it's something we're really proud of, and it fits nicely in Las Vegas. It'll be in Las Vegas the weekend of October 9th through the 11th. And we're expecting a really big turnout. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Why did you guys leave Las Vegas? You had such a great run in Las Vegas, and I would go every year. I love the Fitness Expo, and we'll talk about that as well. But why did you end up leaving Las Vegas? I felt like when you came back last year to Resorts World, this was like a homecoming. To me, Mr. Olympia belongs in this city. Why did you guys leave in the first place?
So we left Las Vegas for a few years for the same reason many events had to leave Las Vegas. We had to find a home when the global pandemic kicked in, and your governor out there and various city officials made it incredibly difficult for large gatherings to take place. And it actually turned out to be, back in 2020, one of the real almost iconic storylines in the event industry, not just fitness, not just bodybuilding, but in the event industry, because it takes us about 8 months to fully produce Olympia weekend. It's a 6-day footprint. It carries all kinds of elements from amateur events to press conferences and meet and greets and seminars and trade shows that span 600,000 square feet of convention center space to, of course, our main stage production in the theater. So there's a lot of elements to it, and it takes a lot of time and energy to put this thing on. And in 2020, about 5 weeks before it was go time, we had sold tickets. This thing was going down. In a few weeks, we got a call from officials in the city of Las Vegas informing us that we were not going to be able to honor our ticket sales, all the obligations we made, not to mention the hundreds of bodybuilders and physique and fitness athletes who were well in the throes of a full-blown contest preparation. They weren't going to be able to have an opportunity to walk on a stage. Fans weren't going to be able to gather. Our vendors, our exhibitors, our sponsors, it was going to be completely done. So we had to pivot, and we pulled off something that people still talk about to this day. And that is, we managed to move the event from Las Vegas all the way to Orlando at the Orange County Convention Center. And I'll always have a special place in my heart, Orlando, because the governor of Florida, Governor DeSantis, he did what he could to make it possible for us to come and gather. And of course, it was controversial, right? We had to be careful about exposure and all those elements. But at the end, we were able to, in 5 weeks, do what we normally do in about 7 or 8 months. And that was put on a full-blown Olympia experience in Orlando. We did it there for a couple of years. And at the end of the day, we just knew that Las Vegas really was home for us. So that's why we're back in Sin City. And, for us, it's meaningful because, as you know better than anybody, you work and live in the entertainment capital of the world. And we've really worked hard to make the Olympia far more than just, dare I say, a meathead convention. And I say that
Yeah.
because we all affectionately meatheads. I'm one, you're one. We love the gym, we love to train. But there's so much more to the lifestyle. There's so much more to this community, and we're really proud of what it's become. And Las Vegas kind of embodies all of that. And to be in an entertainment environment, that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to inspire people through entertainment and turn it into something that's far more than just people walking on stage flexing their muscles.
Why is it? Why is it so inspiring? Why do I feel such a bigger connection when Olympia comes to town and I see these guys and ladies on stage, or I go to the fitness expo? I mean, I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan. I follow the Cowboys, but if I go to a Cowboys game or I'm a Phillies fan or even a Golden Knights game, I'm excited to be there, but I feel such a bigger connection, whether I'm walking around in the expo and meeting people that are selling supplements to watching the show. Why is it that people feel more of a personal connection with Mr. Olympia in the bodybuilding world?
I love that you asked the question, and it's the reason why it feels different to you, JC, is because you live the lifestyle. It's because when people go to football games and they watch the Super Bowl, and there's 75,000 people sitting in that stadium. Very few people, if any, have ever experienced the thrill of intercepting a pass and running it back,
True.
or tackling somebody for a loss.
That's true.
If you go to the NBA Finals, it's highly unlikely that any of us who sit in that 14,000 seat arena have ever dunked a basketball, right? Or I can certainly tell you that very few people will ever know what it's like who attend a World Series to stare down the barrel of a Major League fastball or a slider. However, when you go to the Olympia or any other world-class bodybuilding event, you're surrounded by people who wake up each morning and are devoted to this lifestyle. They eat, drink, sleep, breathe, bleed this crusade. So when they finally come and they buy a ticket to go to the Olympia, they're immersed in their world. There's a relatability to it. That's why you feel that, because it's far more personal.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, because that's the lifestyle that I'm not a big Olympia-sized guy, but since high school, working out all the time and following up on supplements and reading all of your magazines as well. If you're just joining us, it's Dan Solomon. He's the CEO of Mr. Olympia. We're at Resorts World. This is the 61st. If my math is right, Olympia has been around longer than the Super Bowl, correct?
As the Olympia came into play, I think the same year as the Super Bowl,
It's
and
wild.
we went first. And the best part about the Olympia is it really just tells the story of the evolution of fitness and physique transformation, um, and how common it's become. There was a time when you went to a gym, maybe when you were a kid, or certainly when I was a kid, and there was 3 or 4 guys and with wide lats and thick quads and boulders for biceps walking around with their gallon water jugs, and they were the resident bodybuilders.
Yes, exactly. Frank Perez was my guy. I remember his name, Frankie
Right.
Perez. Yep, I
We
remember
all
him.
have that. We all have that guy. I remember actually when I was a kid, I was walking through a mall. There was a GNC nutrition store in the mall. There was some relatively unknown bodybuilder who I met when I was there, and he did that thing where he makes his forearm, kind of inflate with blood, and all of a
Uh-huh.
sudden he's got Popeye forearms. I was probably 10 years old. I still remember it to this day because we all have that moment, that guy that
Yes.
introduced us to
Yeah.
that
Uh-huh.
visceral superhero dynamic of bodybuilding. But it's just been amazing watching the way this thing has grown. Now it's not just those 3 or 4 guys in your gym. It's your kid's 3rd grade teacher. It's your dentist. It's your attorney. They're all connected in some way. Everybody knows somebody who has a connection point to this community, a friend who competes in a bikini competition, or a brother who does a wellness or does a physique competition, or we all have ties to it. So it's infiltrated in all parts of our life. And that's really gone a long way towards commercializing it, creating more opportunities for sponsors and different kinds of audience. Hollywood has embraced it.
Hmm.
Um, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, guys with muscle weren't cast for leading roles. Now you look up and down Hollywood and everybody's got bodies and they're built, and athletes don't look like Babe Ruth anymore. It's just a very different world. And if you follow the story of the Olympia and what the event looks and feels like, it kind of follows that whole chronology of how the fitness movement has grown.
Well, I was going to say, because you're at Resorts World, and I remember you used to be at the Orleans Arena and now back at Resorts World. Have you thought about going to T-Mobile Arena or Allegiant Stadium? Because I think if I'm right, is it sold out? Is can you buy tickets still
There's
to the
still some
actual?
tickets available. Yeah,
Okay.
that's good news for your viewers. The Olympia tickets at MrOlympia.com. There's tickets to the main stage productions available, as well as to the expo. They go fast. They will sell out, so get on it and buy those tickets. But to your question, growing to different types of venues, I think an arena is in our near future. We've done the arena thing at Mandalay Bay for a number of years at what you guys now call the Mick Ultra Center.
Oh yes,
Um,
that's right. Yeah.
yeah, back in those days, it was the Mandalay Bay Event Center.
Yes.
But so we've gone that route, and we can fill an arena. And then we decided we wanted to create something a little bit more intimate. So we went back to a more theater environment. Um, but you're right, we have outgrown it. We are in a place where we can sell a lot of tickets, and we're proud of that. It really speaks to the interest that people have. It used to be that, you'd go to even a local bodybuilding show, and the audience was just filled with friends and family of the competitors.
Huh?
And now you go there and there's people that are complete strangers. They just want to go there and they want to be inspired and be motivated and take it all in. So yeah, I think larger venues are in our future. They have to be. And I don't think it's that far in our future. Maybe as soon as next year, we'll see how it plays out. But there's a lot of options now for our sport. And it's not just us. Other events are growing too. Other fitness expo trade shows are growing, whether you go to Dubai or Columbus, Ohio, or
Mhm.
Los Angeles or cities all around the world, they're growing, and it's really exciting to see that growth. And I think people who care about fitness are really going to benefit by this. And we're also talking more about stuff, right? I mean, even just wellness and all the various things that are available to stay younger, and the red light therapies and the various peptides and all these different things that are making their way into our regular day-to-day conversations and all elements of performance, and it all seeps into what we do. So we're really proud to be kind of like that central artery of all of it. And I love seeing everybody talking about it.
Yeah, to me, you're the top of the mountain when it comes to bodybuilding and fitness and in the world wellness and health. I think of Olympia, I think of muscle and fitness, I think of everything you do. I remember for me, it was 1991. I was a huge wrestling fan, still am a wrestling fan. And when Vince McMahon created the WBF, the World Bodybuilding Federation, I started seeing these guys like Troy Zuccolata and Gary Stridham, I think his name was, who won the first one, and seeing these guys. And my parents got my brother and I tickets to go see the WBF, the World Bodybuilding Federation, Atlantic City, summer of 1991. And there I am. I kind of went to see the wrestlers because the Ultimate Warrior and Randy Savage were there, but I'm watching these guys on stage, and that's when I fell in love with the sport of bodybuilding and seeing what they do on stage. And I remember meeting Troy Zuccolata afterwards, and he signed my autograph book, and I was inspired after that. You talked about seeing the guy at GNC. When was the moment that you fell in love with bodybuilding in the sport?
Yeah. Yeah. So the preeminent organization in the world of bodybuilding, it's called the IFBB Professional League. And it's the organization that sanctions the Mr. Olympia and on all the major events in the world. Um, and in 1998, I was in New York City on an unrelated business trip. I was in the financial sector back in those days. And across the street from the hotel I was staying at was Madison Square Garden. And there is a theater inside MSG called the Paramount Theater. And in the Paramount Theater, that particular night happened to be the 1998 Mr. Olympia, and which was really exciting for me because I was in my mid 20s at that time, and I loved bodybuilding. I'd always read all the magazines, but I had never really been up close to it. So I thought, man, what a cool thing! I'm going to get to go and see if I can get a ticket and be closer to all those images that I grew up reading about, and all those, superheroes, right? That I loved learning from and seeing their images and all that. So I managed somehow to get a ticket. I don't even remember how I did it, but I was in the building. And I remember seeing this battle play out on the stage between the best bodybuilders on the planet competing for the most coveted title in the world, of course, Mr. Olympia. And the way the fans responded to it, the
Mm-hmm.
way the energy on the stage played out, the way the best in the world went pose for pose. It was such an exciting energy. It was so intense. It was sensory overload to the highest level in every possible way. And I remember leaving the venue that night just feeling like I had found something. I had connected to this new energy, this new source of something that I knew I wanted to be a part of. I didn't know how I wanted to be a part of it. I just knew I needed it in my life because I had discovered something that really spoke to me in a way that just it went beyond the muscle, it went beyond the gym. It ran deeper than that because what I learned at that moment was the people who were in that world, they understood the correlation between hard work, dedication, and success. And that was never lost on me. I always identified that connection, and that sport and that event and that night really showed me what that looked like. And I think from there I started to kind of immerse myself in it. I would go to the gym more. I hired a great trainer who actually had competed at that Mr. Olympia that night, and it just became part of my day to day. And then the rest, the series of events that led me down this path into a career is a whole another story, maybe even another show. But it definitely started that night. And I'm glad you asked because I think we all have that moment, right? That
Mhm.
moment where everything changes. I mean, you become very good at what you do. You're well known in your community. You're one of the best at what you do. And that happened for you because there was somewhere, some way, right? Where you connected with somebody who was probably better than you at it or really set the standard and you figured out a way to merge your passions with it. And that's what happens with all of us. There's something infectious about fitness. It does things to our brain. It has a way of um, releasing chemicals in our brain. And there are scientists out there that will speak about this to a level that I'm not qualified to, but I do know that it's a real thing. We saw it during the aforementioned pandemic, right? Where people were unable to go to the gym, they were unable to train, and we saw the withdrawal. We saw what happened. There were people that took their own lives during that
Yeah.
time because their inability to um, express themselves that way and to feel that workout, that pump as the blood fills the muscle and all those things that go on that trigger responses in your body. It's a powerful thing, and I'll tell you that if used properly, it's the healthiest drug there is.
I remember with the you mentioned the pandemic, and by the way, we're talking to Dan Solomon. He's the CEO of, you see behind him in the background, Mr. Olympia. I remember when the pandemic and the lockdown was starting, and I heard they were going to close the gym. I'm like, what am I going to do? I went to Craigslist to find some weights to get at my house, and there was a guy who was close to me, had a 110-pound easy curl bar. That was the biggest thing I could find. So I went and I bought that, and that was my one piece of equipment during the 2 months that Vegas was locked down, or 3 months. I'd be outside every day doing kind of any different extras I can do with an easy curl bar because I needed that. I needed that fix. That was my biggest panic. That what am I going to do for the next 2 months? I need my gym fix.
Yeah, and you found it and it got you through it, and that really happened for a lot of us, and the best part about it is now it's morphed into so many other areas, right? It's not just about getting that pump anymore. It's about so many elements of it, and it's really also at the same time, it's very much an entrepreneurial playground as well. There's
Uh-huh.
so many different ways to make your living in this space. And I'm surrounded by people who have taken their initial love of just training and being devoted to that lifestyle and have built incredible companies and have achieved generational wealth. And it all started in the gym. And that's kind of gets back to what I was saying about the dedication piece. A lot of people ask me, why is it that so many people who just started out in the gym, like Arnold and so many others, had these massive lives, had built these empires, have had these incredible success stories. I have, no less than 30 or 40 people in my phone here that have built um companies tied to the space that have had exits to the tune of 300-400 million dollars. And people say, why is that so prevalent in that space? And it's prevalent because it's a community of people who know the correlation between hard work and success. And it's not about it's about grinding. It's about getting up every morning and doing the work. And they learn those principles. They learn those realities in the gym. And sometimes it's not always about the sparkly stuff. Sometimes it's just the when no one's looking in the trenches aspect of getting up when it's still dark outside and getting to the gym and training. And then they take those lessons, they take those principles and they bring them to their real world businesses and other parts of their life. And they've had tremendous success. And it really is fun. And I think a lot of people who aren't immersed in this world, they don't always form that connection. They think it's a world of narcissism. And you know what? To some extent, maybe it is. Maybe there's a lot of that in here that runs rampant. I don't doubt that. It lives in all communities. But I will tell you that if you're able to allow yourself to see it through a different lens, you'll find far more than that.
It's an amazing world. And your career, and we do have to touch on some of this stuff. How do you end up becoming? Were you the editor of Muscle and Fitness? How does that? How do you get into that avenue? You go to a bodybuilding competition, you go to Mr. Olympia 1998. How do you go from there to running the most premier
Yeah,
muscle
so
magazine of all
it
time?
it's funny. So yeah, so this is the, Muscle and Fitness. Now we don't print like we used to,
Yeah, why don't I
unfortunately.
know you don't, but I by the way, I miss
We
holding a
all do.
magazine and
We
going
all
and like
do.
buy I still buy like car magazines. I miss holding the
Nothing
magazine.
Nothing beats going to Barnes and Noble, going to the magazine section, running over and grabbing your favorite. Nothing beats that. I agree with you. Unfortunately, the world has changed the way people consume information, the way they receive data, the way they follow things. It's just different. So everything's been digitized, everything's social media. We try to print an issue when we can, but it's not there isn't a huge demand for it,
Yeah.
as you know. And look, the simple fact that we're doing this format today, the number of people that will be able to view this as compared to the number of mailboxes that can receive a magazine, it's just different.
Yeah.
But I do miss it because nothing will ever replace that feeling of, you know, seeing we can do an article on you on Muscle and Fitness, which I would love to do, but nothing will ever replace the way it makes you feel when you pick up a magazine or you see a face on the cover. Nothing replaces that. It's a special thing. But to answer your question, when I first got into it, I was by some unusual set of circumstances, I was connected with a gentleman named Joe Weider. Joe Weider is the iconic pioneering founder of the bodybuilding movement. Back in the 1940s, when there were no nutrition companies, when athletes still looked like Babe Ruth and teams didn't have trainers and people went out after ball games and had beers and ate fried chicken. And that's the way the world used to be. There was none of this. And Joe saw something. He began to understand the connection between muscle growth and how it was going to impact the world. And he created a little newsletter about how to build muscle and how to build your bodies. And the newsletter turned into a magazine. The magazine turned into a publishing empire that he would later sell for $350 million.
Whew.
And it's an amazing story in American business because I can almost say Canadian business because Joe and Ben Weider were Canadian.
Oh, they were. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. But in the end, uh, it's a powerful story because when you think back to the way the world was when this all started, people thought they were crazy. So crazy that we actually made a movie about it. I was a co-executive producer of a movie called Bigger, which starred Julianne Hough and Tyler Hoechlin and Tom Arnold and Robert Forster, a great cast. We put it out in 2018. You guys can see it on iTunes or Prime Video and a few of those services. But it's called Bigger, and it's the story of how Joe and his brother started all of this. And it really kind of takes you into the world. They're the ones who brought Arnold Schwarzenegger over from Austria. They're the ones who published the bodybuilding magazines. They're the ones who created the first nutrition companies. And they didn't just create a company, they created an industry. They built a
Hmm.
movement, one that we are all living in today. And so Joe sort of, we built a relationship. He asked me if I wanted to write a column for his magazine called Muscle and Fitness, called Bodybuilding 101, which is really basic story, a basic column that I would write on how to build a body part, real simple.
Uh-huh.
That morphed into something else. And then I became an editor, and then I became an editor of other magazines. And then I created some of my own media. I actually, back in 2005, I had the first ever, um, we called them radio shows at that time,
Hmm.
that morphed into a podcast. Um, Called Pro Bodybuilding Weekly, which was the first ever show devoted exclusively to the world of professional bodybuilding. It was the first time bodybuilding fans ever, in many cases, heard the voices of their favorite bodybuilding stars. They had gone their whole lives reading the magazines, but they had never actually heard the voices. And we became that central place where people would go to every Monday at 8 o'clock to hear about how somebody was preparing for the Mr. Olympia, or who was opting not to compete in some other contest, or how somebody's preparations were going, or the top 5 things they do to get their protein before lunchtime, or whatever it was. We covered it. That was before YouTube. That was before
Hmm.
social media made its way into the space. And then we did that for many, many years, and it was tremendously successful. And then other programs, of course, took hold, and now the landscape is loaded with great content. But we started that, And then eventually I took other positions around the global fitness industry. I started to consult for supplement brands. I started to learn the business side of what we do and those revenue drivers and what that looks like and how to engage customers, how to build audiences, how to connect with um, new kinds of enthusiasts. In 2018, we released Bigger, a film devoted to the world. It was the highest budgeted film in the history of motion picture that would have this as a subject matter, bodybuilding and fitness. So we did that. And then shortly after that movie was released, I was brought to New York. The Olympia was owned by a company called American Media.
Okay.
AM AMI is no longer known as that, but it was the same company that publishes The Inquirer, Us Weekly, OK, all those grocery store tabloids.
Really? All right.
They also owned the Olympia. They're the company that spent $350 million to buy the publishing empire.
Okay.
And with the publishing empire came the Olympia. And the Olympia had been growing, doing fine, but I guess it wasn't performing to the level that they wanted. And they brought me out. And after a 3-hour lunch, I was offered the job to run the Mr. Olympia, which was quite a moment for me, considering 20 years earlier was that night in 1998 at Madison Square Garden. And there I was in a spot where I had an opportunity to really have a big impact on something that I cared a lot about. So it was quite an experience for sure.
So 2018 is when you took over Olympia.
You got it. Yep,
2019 was your first Olympia you put on then,
that's right.
and then a year two you're dealing with the pandemic.
Yeah, it was crazy. In fact, it was actually almost a tragedy in the business world because a gentleman named Jake Wood, who is a great guy, a great businessman, very passionate, an authentic lover of bodybuilding and physique transformation, and cares a lot about the sport. He acquired the Olympia from American Media um, for a hefty sum, right?
Mhm.
And he took ownership of it along with Muscle and Fitness and the media properties. And only a few weeks after the transaction closed, so did the rest of the world. And the
Oh
event industry
gosh.
shut down. And it was a bad break. It really was. But we were able to turn lemons into lemonade. We put on a show, and the event has continued to grow since. But you can imagine making an investment like that.
Yeah.
Um, it would be almost like if you bought a massive amount of stock today in Tesla, and then a few weeks later, something happened where electric vehicles were shut down for the next
Yeah. Yeah.
year. It would be like that, and that's what happened to Jake. But Jake has been tremendous, and he's really done a lot to kind of rescue the event from a corporate environment and bring it into something far more personal. And we've been able to do a lot under Jake's ownership.
I feel like you breathe new life into Mr. Olympia. Like not that it was dying, but I do feel in the 90s, early 2000s, 2010s, it was really on fire. And then for me, something happened, and I don't know if it's so some kind of change. But I felt like when you took over, you guys breathed new life back into
Yeah,
Olympia.
and I appreciate you saying that, because we've done a lot to try to make that happen. But in all fairness, sometimes it's just a matter of where everyone's at in their lives.
Yeah.
Bodybuilding and this lifestyle is something that, yes, while it has undeniably grown in every quantifiable way, so you're not wrong, you're 100% spot on. But we find that depending on the circumstances of your life, what you're focused on, where you're at in your career, where you're at with your family that you're building, whatever you have going on, sometimes fitness and bodybuilding, you don't have the bandwidth to care about it. And that happens. And so sometimes when people say things like that, like, oh, yeah, from 2010, well, I would probably argue that maybe during those years, you were focused on other things as well. So
Yeah.
that does play out. But yeah, we've worked really hard to connect new audiences, even the celebrity element. When you come to the Olympia and you walk around, whether it's the expo or the main event, it's not uncommon to see people named Shaquille O'Neal or Mark Wahlberg or Dwayne Johnson is obviously very interested in this lifestyle. He trains like a bodybuilder. Dave Batista, these guys, they come out and they love it. NFL athletes, Major League Baseball players, NBA players, Hall of Famers, they come out and we don't pay them to come. They just love it. They immerse themselves in it. They arrive early, they stay till the end, and they always have amazing things to say. And we're really proud of that connection because those celebrities do move the needle, right? They have the ability to impact who's doing what and who's following what. And when you have a guy like Shaq who shows up and sits in the front row, and when it's over, goes home and works out and makes a video of himself doing a a Mr. Olympia posing routine. We love that stuff. And they do it not because they have to, they do it because they want to. And so, yeah, it's come a long way.
Well, you talk about getting inspiration. Just go to the Fitness Expo itself. And he mentioned Dave Batista. I remember meeting him at the Fitness Expo. It had to be '07 or '08 is when I met him. But he was there signing autographs. I still got the picture. And you meet so many different companies, and you're inspired, and samples too. Dear Lord, the amount of samples you get when you walk inside that Fitness Expo. You leave there, and your next 2 weeks, next month of working out is gonna be the most intense workouts you
Well,
ever had.
it's so great that you say that because there's so much about attending the Olympia Expo or any bona fide fitness expo. You go there and yeah, you get all the samples and the freebies, and that's amazing. You also see the global fitness industry, the commerce of it at work. You see
Mhm.
all of the elements of apparel, of equipments, of nutritional products, of supplementation, of functional foods, any element of the fitness, commerce, and even wellness and longevity and anti-aging. It all kind of comes together and you see that. But best of all, you are immersed in this massive space surrounded by people who are just like you. And you
Yes.
connect and you meet people and you come back year in and year out and you leave there not just with enough to fuel a few weeks of workouts. You leave there with enough inspiration to supercharge an entire year in the gym. And that's the cool part. And by the way, if you're somebody who's an influencer and you love content and all that stuff, there's no better place than to go and grab content because you are immersed and surrounded by some of the most extraordinary, dynamic physiques, world-class athletes, the best of the best under one building. So that's also a big part of it as well.
Yeah, I love the expo. I want to switch gears to something else. Are you still on the board of the International Sports Hall of Fame? Is Hulk Hogan in that Hall of Fame?
Hulk is not in that Hall of Fame. No,
Just
and
Triple
it's
H. There are wrestlers in there, right?
there are. So yeah, Triple H is in along with Triple H's wife, Stephanie. The International Sports Hall of Fame is a really unique Hall of Fame because it brings together the best of the best in all sports.
Yeah.
And I mean, you'll have Johnny Bench and Johnny Damon from Major League Baseball. You'll have Marcus Allen from the National Football League. Um, you'll have people from all sports. You have Olympic gold medalists and officials, leaders, a lot of world-class martial artists. So the International Sports Hall of Fame is a great group. It was actually founded by Dr. Bob Goldman, who's done a lot for the fitness and the martial arts community, along with a gentleman named Fairfax Hackley, who works really hard to put that all together. But um, sometimes, though, as you know, with halls of fame, sometimes the limiting factor in inducting someone is not everybody is available. These guys are busy. These guys are asked
Yes.
in Hall of Fames all the time, right? So this is one where the induction takes place as part of Olympia weekend every year, and it brings some really special individuals, famous athletes, but beyond the fame, just people who have really contributed a lot. And whenever a name comes up, like Hulk Hogan and what a loss, Harry was such a connected um, honorary member of our industry. He would show up at events, he would greet fans. One of my really good friends, a guy who I consider a brother, Mel Chansey, Mel and Terry had a long-standing friendship, and Mel almost served as a conduit to Hulk Hogan and be having him be around this industry. And he always lifted everybody up when he came around. And he was he was a man of faith. He really just did a lot of great things for the fitness industry. Of course, his contributions to wrestling speak for itself. He's Babe Ruth of wrestling, right?
Yeah.
And it's such a huge loss, but I know he touched a lot of lives. And we were glad to feel a connection to him. And I know a lot of people are feeling that loss this week because he was a very unique, one of a kind. They absolutely broke the mold when they made him.
I remember measuring my pythons. I'm like, he's got 24-inch pythons. I was, kid at the time. Like, why am I 6-inch pythons? I want to get 24-inch pythons. I'm going to say my prayers, training, vitamins, and believing in yourself. The 4 commandments of Hulkamania. Who's going in this year? Do you know who's going in? Who can we expect to go in this year at this year's Olympia?
Are you referring to the Hall of Fame? Or
Fame, yeah. Have they
yeah,
announced it yet?
I think that'll get announced in the next couple weeks.
Okay.
But it's something that I know everybody looks forward to.
How many? So this will be the 61st annual Mr. Olympia. How many Olympia winners are there? Because I know Arnold won it, what, 5 or 6 times? You have Jay Cutler, Phil Heath. How many people have actually won Mr. Olympia?
Yeah, so there have been, as you mentioned, 60 so far. This will be the 61st. And there are many multi-winners because there's eras. Like you said, Arnold Schwarzenegger won it 7 times. A guy named Ronnie Coleman won it 8 times. Phil Heath won it 7 times. Dorian Yates won it 6 times. Jay Cutler won it 4 times. The list goes on. Um, but what can't be lost in all of this is when it's all said and done, there are only 19 men, to answer your question, who have ever been able
Wow.
to Mr. Olympia. And what makes the Mr. Olympia different than anything else is the Mr. Olympia, yes, it means you're the best in the world, and that's without debate. But what it also is, it's not just a title, it's a name change. When you win that title for the rest of your life, when you walk into a room, when you are introduced at a podium, wherever you go, you are Mr. Olympia, and it only takes one, right? There are individuals who have won the event 1 time. Dexter Jackson's one of them, one of the greatest of all time. Um, and they are forever Mr. Olympia, and it has a powerful impact on their lives as a brand, financially.
Mhm.
It is an incredible thing. And what I love is a lot of them, it's what they do with the title. Not everybody. I think this goes for all sports. I'm actually writing a book about this now. It's what you do with the title. It's winning is just the beginning, right? What do you
True.
do with
Yeah.
the title? How do you inspire people? How do you impact the world? How do you monetize it, right? That's also a big part of it. And some of our champions have been amazing at it, some not as amazing at it. But it's interesting to see what people do with that title. But yeah, being called Mr. Olympia is rarefied air. It is the top of the mountain, and it is the thing that changes who you are forever.
I love this. This is Dan Solomon. He's the CEO of Mr. Olympia. When Arnold won Olympia, I think I saw this somewhere that his prize money was like $1,000, maybe. What's the prize money now? Can you say what the prize money is
Yeah,
now
so
for Mr.
it was
Olympia?
probably a little more than that for Arnold. When the event was first held in 1965, a gentleman named Larry Scott won it, and he was the first ever Mr. Olympia. And you are right, he won $1,000, and then over the years it started to climb. Now we give away a total prize purse of about $2 million.
Oh,
Now,
oh,
the winner of the Mr. Olympia last year received $600,000. The year before,
wow.
the winner of the Olympia received $400,000. And every year it's had a way of progressing up. And it far and away is the standard bearer for prize money. But we're seeing prize money increase at other events too, which is incredible.
Uh,
That's what it's all about. As we continue to raise that bar and continue to give out more money, we're seeing it across the board. And that means so much because what it's doing is it's inspiring other people to take on this lifestyle, to get involved. And the best part about it is it's not even just the prize money. A lot of people want to focus on the prize money, but it's what the title can do for you. There's a gentleman named Chris Bumstead. Your viewers might know him. They call him C-Bum. He's one of the most um, recognizable fitness celebrities in the world. He won a division that we have. It's called Classic Physique. He has been our Classic Physique champion for the last 6 years. He is now retired from competition. But we're always trying to bring up prize money, and that's a great topic. But the life that title has given Chris
yeah.
Bumstead, the opportunities to earn that have been born from being an Olympia champion, that's where the good stuff happens. And I know a lot of people want to focus on prize money, and we focus on it too. We love to increase it. It's very gratifying for Jake Wood, our owner, to step to the podium, continue to raise that bar. And others are doing. Arnold Schwarzenegger is doing it with his event, giving away more and more and more money. And it's been really fun to see it. We're really proud of the work Arnold's doing. When you have a guy who won our event 7 times, and then he goes from that building this iconic life,
Yeah.
bankable box office stars of all time, box office, revenue that is well into the billions, and you have a career that brought him to be the governor of California, and he puts on a great fitness event,
Hmm.
and the list goes on. And he's also doing a lot of work, for the environment, and he cares about a lot of important things. But those are the kinds of things that I talk about. It's what you do with the title, right?
Hmm.
And I love seeing guys who really maximize it in ways that are meaningful. And so prize money, it's a great topic, and we'll always love talking about it. But and to some people, that's the indicator of growth. But there's really so many other things happening, so many other verticals, so much more impact that these fitness celebrities and bodybuilding champions are having. And it's really an incredible thing.
You're incredible, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. My final question before we wrap up: what's a storyline we should be following? A couple months outside the Olympia windows coming up here in October. What's the storyline that we should be kind of following, or what's the storyline that's developing going into Olympia this year?
Yeah, so if you are a fan, if you're a serious fan of bodybuilding and you follow the Mr. Olympia, you will know that um, our defending reigning champion, the 19th Mr. Olympia, his name is Samson Dauda, and he lives over in the UK and by way of Nigeria. He is back to defend his title, but he's going to have to manage to fend off some other former Mr. Olympias. There could be as many as 4 or 5 former Mr. Olympias potentially on stage on the same night, depending on how it plays out. Still, some of it's unconfirmed, but Hadi Choopan, who comes from Iran, he won the title a couple years ago. Derek Lunsford, who's from the US, he won the title the year before. Samson Dauda, he's coming back. Brandon Curry, a former Mr. Olympia champion. So there's at least 4 committed Mr. Olympias who will be on stage at the same time. And it could potentially grow depending on how things play out. So it's really an exciting thing. But what people need to know is there's 11 divisions. The Mr. Olympia is the one everyone talks about.
Mhm.
We get that. But there's 11 divisions that span from the Mr. Olympia, male bodybuilding world championship, to Miss Olympia, which is the female bodybuilder, to Bikini Olympia, which is some of the most beautiful fit women in the world. The wellness division, which is a slightly more muscular version of that bikini division. I guess that would be one way to describe it. Men's
Okay.
physique, which is the ultra ripped. That's the division that you would compete in, the men's physique division. The guys that are ripped and have abs and have all that kind of stuff, and they're highly mainstream and marketable. Those guys are competing for a men's physique Olympia title. And then there's even a wheelchair Olympia division, which is as inspiring as anything you'll ever see. These guys come in
Yeah.
world-class physiques, and it's an incredible thing to witness. And there's women's figure titles, and again, the list goes on, but it's a really exciting thing to be there because there's something for everybody. Not everybody connects with the same body type. Everybody is drawn to something different, and we really
Mhm.
we're at a place now where we can offer something for everybody's genetic makeup and what they're aspiring to look like.
Well, Dan, I'm so excited. Mr. Olympia is coming back to Las Vegas in October. Resorts World. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it, buddy.
And JC, thanks for being such a great friend of the Olympia. We appreciate you very much.